How would you like to redefine your job or change career paths this year? Do you need an escape plan from a job that's just making you miserable? Don't miss this episode with Jason Barquero. He's a passionate career consultant and he's the Director of Alumni Engagement at my alma mater, Claremont Graduate University.
Sophia Silva is a positive psychology coach who shares with her audiences the knowledge of leading figures to provide a roadmap for people who are interested in leading a life worth living. This is What the Flow with Sophia Silva.
So, Jason, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, I want to talk about how your career can make you miserable or happy and fulfilled.
Okay, wow, that's a big question.
So,
We're trying to cover it all.
yeah. So, which one do you want to start on first? The happy part or the miserable part?
Let's end on a good note. So let's start with the miserable part first, and then we'll end on a good note.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how can our jobs make us miserable? I guess there's many aspects to that.
Yeah, we can take that on a lot of different things. You know, I think people, I'll start by saying this. I think people really underestimate your job and your career.
Yeah.
You read a lot, you hear from a lot of friends and say, well, it's a job. I'm supposed to not like it, you know, because that's why I get paid to do it, right?
Yet you're there like most of your life.
Exactly. You're there all of your time. You're there from the moment, from the moment you step outside of your doorstep to the moment you get back home at night.
Yeah.
How many hours of that day did it take? You take away the time you're in bed and you're asleep. Now what's left for yourself, your friends, and your family, right? So it's really, really important. And people underestimate that. And I think more and more Americans underestimate that. But we're seeing now more and more that people want to be a lot more fulfilled in what they do today. And it's not just something that you see from millennials, which a lot of people will blame. What's what the millennial generation? No.
Yeah, and they think like, oh, we're entitled.
Exactly. And I would like to think it's this entire generation we're living in right now that feels all those things. Whether you're a 30-year-old today, whether you're a 21-year-old, or whether you're a 60-year-old, you're finding people now in their 60s who are not ready to retire. You'll meet more folks in their 60s. Yeah, who are saying, look, 60 is the new 50, and in a way it kind of is.
Yeah,
because
it really is.
Right? You're meeting a lot of folks who are really passionate about it. They want to be part of this happiness movement also, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to do that.
And I see so many people that are like in their 60s, 70s, 80s that are in great shape, still working. And I think they're still like alive and healthy because of that, because they are working and they have meaning in their life.
Yeah, and I think what we all work towards too, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a sec, is how can you start to build a career?
Yes.
That not just a job, but a career from the moment you're in your early 20s to set yourself up maybe even financially to where you can retire a little bit earlier, or at least to a point to where you get to that golden those golden years of your 60s, because people are living longer, and by the time you and I get to that age, the life expectancy will probably be into the 80s. I mean, think about that. How could I build a career and a life in general that keeps me balanced enough to when I get to 60 and 70, I'm looking at myself going, well, the clock's ticking. No, you don't want to say that. You want to say, hey, I got 30 more years here. Let's fulfill it with something.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not clocking in 9 to 5 every day. Maybe it's saying, you know what, I've done that. I've done the corporate job. I've done I've done all that stuff. Now it's time for me to step back. Can I retire? And can I now fulfill a third part of my life now, where I can be a mentor, I can be a coach, there's other ways to supplement income, you know, for retirees as well, who sometimes are on a fixed income. I think there's a lot we can learn, even from young people today, from some of the older folks that are doing some really cool things upon 65 that are keeping themselves happy.
What are the factors that we might not be paying attention to that are harming us more than we actually realize? Because I think like what you said is it's just a job. And we don't consider that maybe you have a commute every morning and then every day after work, or maybe you hate your boss, or your boss is mean to you and you hate everyone that you work with. Well, you carry that home. There's a lot of things.
Absolutely. So a couple of things. I always say the earlier the better. And what I mean by that is when you look at your life as a totality and you look at, okay, I go to college at 18, let's say I graduate at 22. That's not the case for everybody, but let's just, for the sake of this argument, I think from your early 20s and even in your teens, and I wish high schools would be doing a lot more of this, because I think, maybe because I'm a professional development person and career counselor by trade, I kind of feel like this should be something that should start at high schools, at a high school level, where you start talking about what you want to do, you start looking at your skill set, start looking at what you're good at, and start kind of what Marcus Buckingham talks about, the strengths movement that started many years ago, and focusing on strengths. I would say if your school isn't doing that for you, you can do that for yourself. So number one, building upon your strengths at a very early age. What am I good at? What am I good at? But also, what am I willing to do? There's that if you looked at this as a Venn diagram, it's, what can you do and what will you do? And when you find that sweet spot of things that you're willing to do,
like that.
And that you're also, because everyone can say, well, I'd love to sing. Yeah, but if you can't sing, singing ain't for you. So that's not something you can do, right? Like, I can't sing. I'll sing, but I can't sing, so no one's going to pay me for singing.
Or maybe you're really good at singing, but how much effort are you really willing to put into it?
There you go. You won't do it. I'm good,
or
but
what kind of career work-life balance do you want?
Exactly.
How far does it go?
So if you look at the will do and the can do, and you find that, and you'll find a lot of stuff like you said that you can do, but you're not willing to do. You'll find stuff that you're willing to do or can't do. You find that sweet spot in the middle, and you start from there. But if you know you got to do something, you build a plan, you practice ahead of time, you start to feel good about it, takes all the anxiety away.
Yeah, at least you have a guide.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So start building that guide. I mean, we can spend a lot of time on the guide, but there's a lot of that. And finding someone, a career coach, someone at school, at your college, if you're an alum, going back to that university, finding a professional.
Reaching out. Yeah, I always think you need to reach out and try to find
Absolutely.
someone that will help you. Not everyone's going to help you, but if you look around and keep looking, you're going to hit someone.
Yeah.
I know that's always worked for me in my life. I've always somehow found a mentor or someone to just kind of be my buddy and help me out along the way.
You hit the right key. That's the mentor. And you don't have to go to a professional career counselor. Career counselors might hate me for saying this, but you should go to and see folks if you're in school and career counselors and things like that. But if you're beyond college and all that, anybody could be a mentor. Anyone can help you.
You start to get answers to the unknown.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that if you are miserable in that job right now and you're not happy in that job at the moment, then you start to build that plan to get out of that job. What is your escape plan, maybe, to find something different? Really, that's what you have to look at it. I mean, how do you hit the eject? Yeah. When do you hit the eject button? You got to have a plan to hit that eject button if you're thinking, hey, I could get laid off in 6 months, or I might be laid off in 3 months, or something may not happen here. I always believe, and I know this kind of goes on a different direction, but if you're in a job, you usually kind of know where you stand in that organization. And if you have a good sense of self and a good sense of self-awareness and what's going around you.
Yeah, I think that's important. You have to have sense of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Some people don't have that.
No, it's a little tough. But that's why having mentors is important.
Yeah.
Because then you have folks, we all need people to check us every once in a while, right?
Yeah.
To say, hey Jason, hey Sophia, this isn't really working out. Let me tell you why. And then you go, okay, I need to switch things up here a little bit. Or someone to say, look, this isn't really working out. We need to read the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
It may not work out for you in 3 to 6 months. And then that's when you have to build a strategy. So a lot of different scenarios. But
so what about if you are in a job where you're unhappy?
Yeah.
And, life happens, you have to pay bills, and it's not that easy to just walk away from it.
Yeah.
How can we start to make that transition? Do we build that plan, or what can we do in the meantime to kind of get through it?
So that's always the elephant in the room. You just said bills, finances. We're always taught about a lot of things, but for some reason, as human beings, we kind of, the finances is always like the elephant in the room in the corner that no one wants to talk about.
Yeah.
But usually that's the one that'll end up deciding whether this is going to work out or not, right?
Always, yeah.
So there are steps to that. If you're looking to get out of a job, if you're looking to make a career change, one of the first things I think you got to look at is your finances. If you're single and you're just kind of the sole person dependent on your income, then it makes this conversation a little easier because it's a conversation of one. It's you sitting down and just charting out, what can I afford? What do I need to get by?
Yeah.
What is my lifestyle like now? What could my lifestyle be in this new change? If I'm going from making $100,000 today to going to making $70,000 tomorrow in a career change, what is that $30,000 gap going to do to my lifestyle and where I'm at? And then you start to say to yourself, am I willing to give up having lunch every day out? Am I willing to not buy that purse I may not need?
I'll just put up with the boss.
Exactly. I love to collect baseball caps. I love baseball gear. That may be something that I have to say, that's going to have to be put on hold, right?
Yeah.
So you start to make decisions about your life. If there are other folks in your home or in your life that are dependent on your income, whether it be a spouse, a significant other, a partner, whether it's a brother or sister or a parent or a mom who lives with you and you have kids, that's a larger conversation now, right? Now it's not just about me. Now it's about the family. Sitting down with your wife or your husband and saying, look, I want to make this change. Can we make this happen? Is it feasible? And quite honestly, are you with someone that's willing to support that?
Yeah.
That's a very, very important thing.
So in those situations, and we kind of have to find a middle ground, right?
Right.
Essentially.
a middle ground. And also the next step too is doing a lot of research, and that's where the mentorship comes in. I mean, I'm not saying that every career change is always going to mean a pay cut, but that's the first thing you need to know. If it's a true career change and you're miserable in what you do and you want to do something different, people do need to know that more than likely they may take a step down, so to speak. I hate to say step down, but it's a step back a little bit, maybe in the type of role you have. And a lot of that is ego driven. And so that's where kind of flow and all that comes in. Because in my years of career counseling, I'll be very honest, it's usually not about the money. So if you take that example of I'm making $100,000, I don't know if I can make $70,000 in this new job. Sometimes the person can take financially the hit. What they can take is the hit in stature in that job. Oh, I'm going from executive director and you want me to take an associate director job? I can't handle that. What are my friends going to think? What are my family going to think? We all go through that. That's very normal, right?
This program is brought to you by
Anaheim Stoneworks, the company that has taken all the obstacles out of your way. From start to finish, Anaheim Stoneworks takes care of each and every step to give your home the unique look that you've been dreaming of. Anaheim Stoneworks. Quality from start to finish.
Master Toddy LA Training Center offers authentic Muay Thai training with locations in Bangkok, Pomona, and Anaheim. For more information, visit mastertoddyla.com. I didn't even think about that.
So you have to put your ego on check. And I used to tell students and alumni, I said, your egos have to be left at the door if you're ready for a career change, to be willing to go to that next dinner, cocktail party. And when your friends ask you, so what you been up to last year? Well, I'm no longer the president of this company. What do you do? Well, now I started my own ice cream shop. Oh, that's different. But you see what I mean? There's plenty of success stories of people who said, I didn't want to do my day to 9 to 5 corporate job. I always wanted to start my own XYZ business. And I got it going. And at the beginning it was a little tough and I had to swallow my pride, but we got through it.
So how about jobs that make us happy and are meaningful and give us a sense of fulfillment? How can our career or our job be a sense of a source of positivity in our life?
If you want to stay at the job that you're at, right? Because this can go in different directions. If someone says to me, look, I want to be happy in the job I have now. I enjoy the job I have. I make good money, or for whatever reason, I want to stay at this company. How could I make this work? That's actually a great way to approach it, because a lot of folks, the first thing they'll do is they'll want to hit the eject button and not give the job that they're at a chance. Because go ahead.
I like the direction you're going in. Is kind of thinking outside the box.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what you have to do. I'm glad you said that. Is think outside the. It's kind of ironic. It's think outside the box, but within the box you're in. If that makes any sense.
But normally it's like if you don't like something, you're like, bye, I'm out of here. But it's like maybe you could get a different position at that company. Maybe it's just the immediate group that you don't like, or maybe you're just not liking what you're doing, but another position you'll really enjoy that kind of work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, it was very taboo to talk about things like this in the workplace. It just really was. Very difficult to have conversations like that with coworkers, with human resources, with your boss, or anything like that. We're in a very different era, no matter who you are.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't even known that. To me, it's like, what?
But 20 years ago, you would never do that. If you were doing this show 25 years ago, I might have said, no, there's certain things that you just don't do. Times have changed. So, and I've coached folks that are a little bit more senior in their career, who are still used to a more old school kind of work environment, to look at this and say, hey, look, this is a different generation. Your bosses actually may be from a different generation. They might be open to a conversation like this. So the conversation I'm talking about is, if you want to stay within that company, you're absolutely right what you said earlier. Maybe there's a different job for you. So if you're in finance and you don't want to do finance, you've always wanted to work in marketing. That's a big stretch. But if you talk to your boss or talk to someone and start talking to people within the organization, maybe take a walk down the aisle and go knock on the door of the CMO and say, hey, do you mind if you got 30 minutes one day to chat? Can we go to lunch? Can we have coffee? I mean, they're there already. Can we talk a little bit about what you do? I was curious about marketing, or I was curious about whatever it is. Can we chat about that? So start getting ideas. Two things will happen out of that. You will learn a lot about that potential job, but you've now made a new friend within that organization.
It's going to vouch for you.
Who's going to vouch for you. And if a job comes up one day,
they're going to think of you.
Hey, Sophia, I saw there's a job opening. Remember our conversation 6 months ago? What do you think? They might think of you and go say, you know what, I had a good conversation with Jason. Sure, maybe I'll interview him for this. The other thing that could happen is, okay, how can I maybe start to reinvent the job I'm in? More often than not.
I like that. This is good that you brought that up.
More often than not, when you go into a job, and this is probably even better advice for people that are just starting a job, yes, there'll be certain things that you have to do, right? You need to do these things. You can't change that because there's just goals to meet, or things you got to do to keep the business running or the organization. But usually a good 50% of that chunk of that job is usually left up to the employee. If you take your 9, 10, 8-hour day, whatever you do, you probably spend a few hours on projects that you came up with, that you thought of, or things that you're just doing. Sometimes it's not productive, and sometimes they are productive.
On Facebook. You're like buying shoes online.
Exactly. It's true. But people, it's true. Out of an 8-hour day, how many minutes and hours do people on the average spend online doing non-work related stuff?
Yeah.
Maybe those are the 2 hours you can take to research and start working on things that you would love to do.
Yeah, I love that. And
giving yourself projects you enjoy.
Right, giving yourself something to do rather than just passively being on Facebook waiting for the clock to just get to the time that you leave.
Right. And if you've done the right exercises of identifying your skill set, you could have that. I think this is a very appropriate conversation to have with your boss. Do you mind if I share with you some of the things I'd like to accomplish? I see myself 3 years from now doing this, 5 years from now doing that. Can we put a plan in place that will get me there? And more often than not, you'd be surprised how your mentors or your bosses will say, okay, let's start to draw this out. What are some of the things you think you're good at? Well, I'm also really good at this. A lot of times the people around you have no idea about some of the things that you're really good at.
Yeah, you have to let them know.
And they might be giving you supplemental projects. Is it going to be bringing more work? Yeah, you might be attracting more work to you, but it's work that you'll enjoy. But if you like
the work, exactly what you just said, if you enjoy the work and it's bringing you results, then there's nothing wrong with that. No one wants more work that sucks and makes you miserable.
Yeah,
obviously, but
absolutely not. There's a lot of articles and a lot of research out right now about the long hours that we work as Americans and the very long hours that we do, and we don't take vacations like in other countries do, and so we're very just very go, and that it's making us miserable. Okay, there's a caveat to that. Yes, the average American that has these long jobs, these long days at their jobs, are probably not happy. But that's because they're not enjoying what they're fulfilling their 12-hour day.
And what about finding flow at work?
Yeah.
Getting a job that you can be in flow.
I think it goes back to what it certainly is. I think it goes back to what we just talked about a moment ago about finding projects that you like. So now if you want to drill down to it, and if you're asking yourself, okay, I want to be in flow in what I'm doing, where it's just organic. It's just I'm excited about it. I'm happy about it. You get a rhythm about it. A lot of us, depending on what your passion is, I've always liked podcasting and broadcasting in my background. And so even though I enjoy my day job in higher education, there's still something about getting in a sound booth for me personally and putting on a headset and talking on a mic. Let's say when I was doing a show, it was like an out of body experience because you just got really into it.
Yeah.
And so even if it was just for a small part of my day or the week even, and so maybe you're not always going to be in flow, but if you can find those moments in your day job where you can have that, and I think you need to take responsibility for it and build it. You really do. Yeah. You have to talk to your supervisors, talk to your coworkers, and build it. If you're really good at this and you're smart from day one, you can start to build yourself a job description actually, where now you're doing stuff that's fulfilling you. Yeah, there's going to be some stuff you're I got to do this. I got to do budgets this day, this month. Fine. But all of a sudden you're working on a really cool project that involves all these kinds of things.
Which balances it out because you're like, okay, you know what? Since I'm already happy and I'm okay, I have the mental energy to deal with that.
Yeah, no job is going to be perfect. That's the first thing you got to know, right? No matter, I don't care what it is you wanted to do in life, and when you get there, you're going to realize that the stuff that you really loved about it is actually going to be this small part of your 8-hour day. Might only be an hour of the day, but the other 7-8 hours was just working to build up to that 1 hour. That happens a lot. It does. Yeah. And I've talked to people who have said that, that's true. So
that's
realizing that is important. And so here's the one thing I would tell somebody, to any hater that says, oh, that's all BS. Okay, well, here's the deal. Fine. You want to stay in the job that's whatever. You don't like it. You choose. Because there's people who will choose to stay in a job they don't like. That's the reality of it. So I'm going to talk to the folks for a sec.
It's not my problem.
Yeah, right. So this is kind of goes out to the folks who, and this is a large part of the population, who's decided, look, I'm going to stay in this job. I know it's not great, but flow, whatever, this and that. it pays well, I'm going to go through it because I can still buy my Gucci bag with this and I'm going to be happy with that bag.
But that doesn't actually make you happy. Doesn't being in flow make you happy? That's what actually makes you happy.
Yeah.
So that's what people should actually be pursuing instead of this stupid purse.
Exactly. But you know what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah, but we need to shift that mindset that, I'll just put up with this job so I can have this paycheck. And it's like...
So here's my advice to those folks that think that way. I would say, okay, here's a way that maybe you can start to do both. And then it'll finally trigger something that will get you to what you just described, which is, I don't really need all these material things. Is find that thing outside of your 8-hour day and your job that can get you into flow. So you may be in a job that you're whatever about, you're not so enthusiastic about it, but I've always wanted to do, I always wanted to paint, and maybe the paint's not going to bring me the 6-figure job.
I've been wanting to paint lately.
Well, see, then this is great then, yeah. But those hand painting doesn't like the kids do doesn't count, Sophia. I've seen that. It's not very good. So no, I'm teasing. But if you decide that's what you want to do, then maybe when you go home, carve out that 1 hour a night, those 2 or 3 hours on the weekend, that time that you do have for yourself, that you can carve out and say, I love photography, I love painting. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go out to the beach and I'm going to spend half the day today and just get into flow with the things that I enjoy, which is what I really wanted to do maybe was become a photographer or be an artist. Then go do that on the side. Go volunteer. Find places where you can volunteer, where you can fulfill your passion. But the other thing you're going to find out is...
It's a good first step.
It's a great first step because you'll begin to find out oh, I really, really love this.
Yeah.
Maybe I should give up that. Can I give that up to do this? Or what's the happy medium? There's ways. There's more than one way to do this and to kind of build a balanced lifestyle. Absolutely.
I'm going to end it on that note because that's been completely full circle.
Great.
So I loved it. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was fun. A lot of fun.
Good.
Yeah.
If you like the show, please subscribe to my channel, Sophia Silva, and follow me on Instagram or hit like on my Facebook page. And thank you for watching.
All conversation and information exchange during participation in the sophiasilva.org website, Sophia Silva YouTube channel, or interaction with, and all social media sites is intended for information and entertainment purposes only, and should not be considered a professional diagnosis or treatment. Do not confuse this information with treatment or medical advice or directions per se. Nothing posted on this site supplements or supersedes the direction of your medical caretakers. Sophia Silva, MA, does not provide the information on these pages to substitute for individualized therapy. No claim to cure, treat, diagnose, or otherwise provide mental or behavioral health care is guaranteed, promised, or implied by this site. The same applies to any professionals who might appear on this site. This website contains links to other websites and resources. We take no responsibility for the content of other resources, electronic or written. If you're in need of any health services, please contact a licensed professional or call 911.